Hey guys, just a quick note at the start of this video to say that late on in the video there are some audio problems sadly, so the quality does dip later on, just to make you aware of it. Hopefully it won't affect your enjoyment too much. Hope you enjoy the video. See you around, guys. I watched Smile 2 for the first time recently, and
Okay.
well, I won't say too much because the review's going up in October, and I know we did the first film on the channel a few years ago when it came out. But it had me thinking about this idea of movies where a lot of it may be in the character's head, and you're not quite
Oh,
sure
yeah.
how much of it is in the character's head, because that's a big thing in like I think both movies, especially the second one.
Mm.
And I was listening to a review, and they were kind of, particularly one of them was a bit lukewarm on it because of that. And it was kind of, in a way, because you're not sure what's real, what's not, then it maybe cheapens the stakes a little bit. And because they were talking about the ending, and they were kind of saying how they liked the ending because it made sense for the film, but at the same time, depending on how you take the ending, like whether it's real, like if it's really happening. And I won't really talk about the ending in case people haven't seen it, but it's one of those endings, because I certainly read it as it wasn't really happening, but they seemed to read it the other way. But they were also saying, yeah, we like the ending, but depending on what led up to the ending, if that was real, then the ending might be different anyway. So I think it gets quite murky where it's like, okay, so much of the movie might just be in the character's head, sort of thing. So I guess I wanted to throw it open to you. Like, what do you think? Do you think that can be very frustrating watching a movie like that?
I mean, I guess it depends on like whether it works into the theme of the movie and whether it feels kind of like a cop out. Like I always felt The Wizard of Oz, it being just a dream at the end, like Dorothy waking up on the farm and having the farm hands be played by the same guys who played like the Tin Man and the Scarecrow and the Cowardly Lion, and making it so that like she just had this dream that she peppered with characters that she already knew. Yeah, I felt that was a bit of a cop out, especially because in the original book, she really does go to Oz and she's returned home by the flying monkeys. Like it's a real physical thing that happens to her. And like I feel like the movie saying, oh, it's all just a dream. I know it kind of lessens the theme of like Dorothy wanting to escape home and then realizing there's no place like home and all of that, because it's like if it was all just a dream, then she didn't really have this big life-changing experience where she went to this foreign country and she realized that she didn't know how, to act, and she couldn't fit in with the rules of that society. All of that, it was kind of taken away when you get to the end and they're like, oh, it was all just a dream. And so yeah, I can see where that would lessen a movie like that. That's the first example that always springs to mind, because I remember not even liking that as like a kid, because like even as a kid I was like, oh, so she didn't really go on all those adventures. She didn't really go down the yellow brick road. She didn't really see the Wicked Witch of the West. And yeah, it kind of lessened. I also started thinking of the Buffy episode, Normal Again, and the way fans argue over the ending and like, is it in Buffy's mind or is it not? And that's another one where it's kind of like, oh, well, it can't all be in Buffy's mind, because like Angel's a real person and he's over in LA and we know that for a fact. And like, I think it can ruin the movie, but I guess I don't know, maybe there are some movies where it's done in a way that, like, maybe if you drop hints throughout the movie that it is just in their minds, like if you set it up so that when the reveal comes, you can go back and look at the movie and see the little clues that were planted. But I don't know if there's ever been a movie that's, kind of done that. So, yeah, I do think the all in the head thing can definitely mess up movies and can definitely lessen the impact of what you're watching. Well, how did you feel when you got to the end of the movie? I haven't seen it, but I don't mind, like, if you give any mild spoilers, but like, did you find it was ruined by like that angle?
So much of it was up in the air and up for debate what was real and what wasn't, because at the ending you do get basically like a concert, because she's a singer, the main character, and it's meant to be, they're building up to her big sort of comeback. But because of what precedes that scene, that's kind of why I read the concert ending, which I'll just say the concert. I won't say what actually happens at the thing, but because of what led up to that, that's why I proceeded, or that's why I thought the concert was maybe in her head, or her evil self wrestling with herself, like her wrestling with herself almost. But yeah, I think with that one, it was frustrating, but I think you're right. It does depend on the movie. Like you said, if they seed it, it can certainly work. And if you know it's part of the thing that it's very psychological. I know with like the Buffy example, I know there's other TV shows that have done that kind of episode as well.
Yeah,
because
Charmed has one.
Okay, and there's an episode,
and so does Smallville.
Yeah, I think I've heard of the Smallville one, and so does Star Trek: The Next Generation. They have one where it's happening to Picard. So yeah, it's quite a common thing in TV when you get something where it turns out it was either a dream or it was one of those endings where it's a practical joke almost, and it's like you've had to sit through like 2 hours of a movie. And yeah, depending on how it's done, that sort of twist can feel very sort of cheap as well.
There is a little slasher from early 2000s. Actually, I think it came out in 2000 called Crywolf. Have you ever seen that one?
No, I've heard of it.
Okay, well, I don't want to give away too much, but it does have an ending that kind of is like one of those, like, it didn't really happen, but then there's another twist. And like the way that movie is done is when you get to the end and you get like these reveals, it actually works. They set it up in such a way that like when you get to the end of the movie and you get the reveal, you're like, oh, okay, no, this actually works. And then they hit you with this other wham moment just before the credits hit that kind of makes up for the fact that the first part was, not quite real. It's a fun little movie. It kind of flew under the radar in like all those slashes that came out, like, the post-Scream era, but it was also one of the first like early 2000s movies to start incorporating like the internet and what you can do with the internet. And this is all about like creating like an urban legend online, and it kind of follows that path. It's got Jared Padalecki in his very early Supernatural days. I think this was like only during seasons 2 or 3 of Supernatural, and it's got a couple of other characters that people might recognize. It's got an actor from Pretty Little Liars who's quite well known now, and a few other like actors that you'd kind of be like, oh yeah, that guy. Oh, and it has John Bon Jovi playing a teacher, which is just I'm not sure where that casting came from, but it's a fun movie that you should definitely check out at some point, if nothing else, for John Bon Jovi playing an English teacher.
One of those twists that really doesn't work for me is the Fight Club twist.
Oh yeah,
and I'm wondering if it works better in the book, because obviously the book can build up to it more, but I think it's just hard to take that twist having seen Brad Pitt throughout the movie, like because he's very charismatic, he's a very memorable character, and I think it's just hard to buy that he was just in like Edward Norton's head the whole time.
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, I knew the twist to Fight Club before I went in. It had already been spoiled for me, so I kind of tried to keep a lookout. And there are little clues here and there, like the scene where he beats himself up, and I think there's a couple of scenes where like people like react to him like he's talking crazy. But for me, the more unrealistic aspect was believing that the Ed Norton character could somehow morph into the Tyler Durden character, because Tyler is supposed to be like his alternate personality. And I guess because Ed Norton just plays, you know, the downtrodden narrator so well, this really uncool guy who you just couldn't imagine doing this by himself. And then, like I said, like you said, Brad Pitt is very charismatic in that role. Tyler Durden is, you know, he's a very interesting, intriguing, and charismatic character. And it is very hard to imagine that this is actually just an alternate off Edward Norton. Like it's just that for me, that was the part that I found like hard to believe, like that this dude actually turns into Brad Pitt. It's like, no, something's not adding up here. So yeah, I maybe the book is better. I don't know if it's written from like a first person point of view, which would let you get inside like the narrator's head a lot more. But look, I got to be honest, I'm not that big a fan of Fight Club as it is. I find it a bit overrated. I also find the fact that like so many dude bros flock to it, completely missing the point of the movie. It is a favorite movie of both of ours, where half the movie does, and then you get to the other half and go, "What the hell is going on?" And that, of course, is The Amazing Mulholland Drive, the first half of which is widely believed to be a dream. And I think that's a great example of how you make that trope work, because, I mean, we probably shouldn't get too far into it, because then we could be here till tomorrow. I mean, the video where we actually talked about Mulholland Drive, I think, was one of our longest reviews ever. But, you know, that's a great example of, you know, because the dream is actually full of, you know, symbolism and themes, and, you know, you if you watch the dream, you can really and concentrate on like what's happening there, you can really see inside like Diane's mind. And when you get to the second half, you can see, you know, how everything kind of matches. Well, not everything, because it's David Lynch and a lot is still left to like, oh my god, what does that mean? Like, why is she dreaming about the worst hitman on the planet? But you can't talk about Mulholland Drive without talking about the worst hitman on the planet. Because it's just so good. But yeah, I mean, that's a great example of, you know, it leaves you frustrated the first time, but when you rewatch the film and you rewatch the dream and you look for all the symbolism and you look for all the hints that are laid down in the first dream, then when you get to the second half of the movie, you can fill in the blanks as to what's going on with these characters between Diane and, you know, Rita and all of that. It's a great example of like how to do that trope. You are going to frustrate your audience, but when you go back and rewatch, it's so satisfying, as opposed to, you know, like I gave the example earlier of The Wizard of Oz. That one's just, you know, that one was just bad. That was just a bad ending to put to that film, especially when you consider Return to Oz is, you know, confirms that it was real and that she went there and everything. So you gotta mention Mulholland Drive when you're talking about dreamscapes in, you know, in movies, because it's just one of the most bizarre and the best.
Have you seen the movie Best Laid Plans?
No.
So it's Reese Witherspoon and Josh Brolin. That's an example of that twist actually working quite well. One of those late 90s thrillers, which is a bit of...
Oh, yeah, wow, 1999.
He has a similar twist, and that's one of the better examples, I think. So that's
I think my favorite twist, I guess spoilers for horror movies, but I think my favorite twist / reveal has got to be The Others, because I think that one was so well done and such a wham moment. I saw that one at the cinema with my sister, and I just remember getting to the end of that movie and we were just like, and it was just, it was such a moment, and it just worked so well. And it was just such a great reveal. And like rewatching the movie, it still lands as such a great reveal, even when you know what's coming, just because it's so well built up. Obviously the most well-known reveal is probably The Sixth Sense, which I unfortunately knew before I saw the movie, which was so annoying, because that would have been like fantastic. That when you first saw The Sixth Sense, did you know the ending, or did that reveal come out of nowhere?
I didn't know.
Good.
Yeah. And I guess that's one where it is well seeded because of the way the movie opened. Like, in a way, it's not a total surprise because of that opening, but I guess because you get immersed in the movie, you sort of forget about that. But,
I guess it would be one of those ones where when you get to the end of the movie and you get the reveal, that it's like kind of like your mind snaps back to the beginning and you go, oh, yes, of course. Remember the beginning, but like you said, the rest of the movie. And I think one of the best scenes in that movie, it's so well done, is the scene in the restaurant where he comes to the restaurant while his wife is having the anniversary dinner, because it's so well scripted and directed that like it really does look like they're interacting, but when you go back and you rewatch it, you can so clearly see that she's there by herself. And I just think moments like that are so well done and so well written, or little things like you'll go back and you'll watch like there's a scene where like the mother and the psychologist are waiting for the kid to come home, and the feeling you get is that they've just finished a conversation, but of course she doesn't know he's there. So again, when you go back and you rewatch it, just like you said, it's very well planned, and it's done so well that when you go back and you rewatch, all of the hints are there, all of the reveals are there, and it's like one of those like, oh my gosh, how did I not know this? Have you seen or read Sharp Objects?
Yes, I've seen and read the book.
Yeah, so that was another one where you get that double reveal at the end, and it's one of those ones where you get like the real reveal of who the killer is, and you go back and you reread the book or you rewatch the series and you're like, how did we not see this? Because like when you first get the reveal, you're like, oh, that kind of came out of nowhere, but then you go back and you reread it and you're like, no, this actually made sense. And that was another one where I thought like the reveal, and not so much the twist, but when you get like the real reveal of what's going on, I thought was so well done, because you really think that you know where this is going and it looks like it's going that way, and then they do that 180 on you and pull out that other reveal, and it's just so well done. So yeah, sometimes twists, sometimes reveals, they can work so well. Another one that's done really well, again, this is Gillian Flynn, is Gone Girl, where you get the reveal halfway through the movie, but oh my God, does it hit you? And then again, when you go back and you rewatch and you see all the little hints, it's just, oh, so well done. So that's another thing, is like the hint / the reveal, the twist, it doesn't always have to be at the end of the movie. Sometimes you can drop it in a little bit earlier, because like, you know, Gone Girl, they drop it halfway through the movie, and then the rest of the movie is trying to figure out where it's going to go. Cindy, right? Gillian Flynn.
Yeah, she's great, isn't she?
Oh, she's so good. And Gone Girl is so sharp and so like on the ball, and like you just never know what's going to happen, and you spend the whole book like doubting Nick and just being like, there's something dodgy about this dude. Like, what is happening? The Island. Did you ever see Shutter Island?
Yeah, the Scorsese one. And
speaking of twists, though, how did you feel about that one? Like the Shutter Island reveal.
I think I would have to rewatch it, because I think people go back and forth on that twist, and a lot of people seem to hate that movie. I think I just enjoy it as a fun B movie, like in a way that's how I liked it. Itself too seriously, and it's got a really good cast as well. So I quite enjoy that one. I think it gets
I liked it, and I thought the reveal I thought the reveal was earned. Like, because when you see it and then you go back and you think back over the movie, you can see where they're laying the groundwork to get to that ending, and then I think the ending is really bittersweet and sad.
Life of Chuck has that element in it, and my mom and I didn't have any idea what kind of film it was when we started watching it. And then, like, the first opening part is like this apocalyptic thriller, and it's got all this mystery, and who's this Chuck guy? He keeps appearing. What kind of movie? I'm so excited. It's a Stephen King apocalyptic movie, and I thought this was like a drama, and then it turns into a drama, and lots of it was inside of one going in. Instead of getting all excited about this, apocalypse scenario. So it can definitely backfire. And then, as for Smile 2, I felt like that was another one where since huge chunks of the movie are just in her head, and I felt like some of those scenes would have been better if they'd been actually played out. I don't want to say which one, but there's definitely some towards the end that I'm like, I wish that had actually been something that they actually did, but it can work sometimes.
It does depend on the movie.
I especially like it every now and then. I'll see it done really well where like a character is they did this on the television show The Boys in the last season. I won't say exactly who or what the details were, but there is a character, and the way the reveal is done is so good. So I definitely think it can be done well, but it's really difficult to make like the entire world really hard to make that work. I think it fails more often than it succeeds.
Over time, it is very hard to do that kind of reveal and leave the audience feeling any kind of satisfaction, because it's almost like, well, why did we just sit through the previous 2 hours if you're just going to say it was all just a dream or it just happened in their head